2 years, I have operated this office by myself. In years past, the jury commissioner either had an assistant or several court staff assisting. My role as the jury commissioner and how jury service in Bonner County operates has changed very significantly over these past 4 years. During my first year, jury service was a 1-month term of service, and everything was completed by mail or paper. A year later, I made changes to where our county's jury service was converted to electronic and postcard system. Jury service was then converted from a 1-month term of service down to being assigned to one jury trial. Last year in January, we converted over to our new electronic jury management system, or EJM. As of January this year, all of Idaho, with the exception of one county, is utilizing this jury system. Today's jury system or service in Bonner County is pretty comparable with those of Ada and Kootenai County, as our average term of service is 8 days. Most counties in Idaho are still on a 2 to 6 month term of service.
That's a big difference.
Very big difference. So our agenda today, I'm going to discuss jury service in Bonner County, how the juror summons that you receive in the mail. I'll explain the EJM systems or the system and its pages, the EJM codes, juror pay, when your jury service is completed, and we'll do a Q&A session if needed. Due to our changeover last year from our previous jury system, if you served in calendar year 2023, you may have previously been or could have been summoned this year by the EJM system. If you received a summons between now and the end of this year and you served in May 2023, please indicate on your questionnaire if you had served in the last 2 years. All jurors will be re-verified of their previous jury service. One of the issues with the EJM system is it has several duplicate files. Mainly this happens if a juror recently changed residences, either via the driver's license office or their voter registration, or they may have more than one address in the system. So it's very important that you update your driver's license and the name that is on file matches that of your driver's license or whenever you vote. Jurors are selected randomly based off their Idaho driver's license and their voter registration. Jurors ages 18 to 70 may be selected for jury service in Bonner County. Jurors that live close to or on the outskirts of the county line may be summoned inadvertently if they use a post office here in the county or up in Boundary County or down south in Kootenai County. For example, if you live in the northern part of the county on Upper Pack, you might be a Boundary County resident, but you have a Sandpoint P.O. box, or if you live in Athol, Spirit Lake, or Bayview, the system may have you in Kootenai County instead of Bonner County, or vice versa. If this occurs, please notify either myself or the jury commissioner for that county so that way we could get it corrected in the system. Your current file will then be closed out, and then we'll create a new candidate ID number in the system for you. For Bonner County alone, I just want to advise there's about 65 to 80,000 names in our EJM system. So to try to get those duplicate names out of the system, it is kind of a time-consuming process. And I do research that information when I have downtime inside the office. So on this slide, each juror that is pulled will receive a jury summons by mail. All jurors are required to complete and return the summons within 10 days of receipt of that summons. If you do not complete the summons within 10 days, a no response letter will be issued. Usually when I send the no response letters out, they're either on blue paper or green paper, the initial one. And if it's an additional 10 days after that, I send a second one. It's usually on a red letter. If the questionnaire is still not received, I investigate in our previous system to see if I can locate any email addresses or phone number to try to reach out to that juror. If you received a second summons in the last 2 years, it's possible I may have a different candidate ID number in the system. If that does happen and you do receive a second summons, let me know so that way, and give me the ID numbers so I can close one of those files out. If you do not have access to the internet, you may complete the paper form and return it by mail, drop it off at the courthouse, or you may come down to the courthouse and use our computer kiosk to complete the questionnaire. So it's important that you keep the stub that's on the bottom of the questionnaire. This stub contains your name, candidate ID number, your dates of service. You will also need to bring that stub with you when you check in for jury service. It just expedites the juror check-in process a lot faster when you do have the stub. If you do lose the stub, you can actually go back onto the system, go to the print letters tab, and you can reprint your summons or take a picture of it with your cell phone, and then that way you have it when you do come to the courthouse. Jurors are randomly selected for each pool of jurors. Pool sizes may vary anywhere from 100 to 500 jurors, depending on the type of jury trial and the number of jury trials being held during that time frame. Pools are ordered anywhere from 5 to 7 days in advance, and they're mailed out by the state Supreme Court. Jurors are polled approximately 60 days prior to the start of any jury trial. Jurors should receive their summons between that 45 and 60 day mark. I just want to advise that when I'm trying to plan for jury trials, I'm actually planning 60 days out. So with the court's rotating schedule, it's hard to predict when the exact date of that trial may start. It could get pushed back a day. It might get pushed back a week. Our schedule constantly changes in there, so when that start date that's listed on your stub, it may not be the actual start date, but it would be pretty close to it. Jurors are polled approximately, jurors have the option of completing their questionnaire online or completing the paper form or return it by mail. If you complete your questionnaire online and you received a confirmed status, your questionnaire will be processed automatically. If you receive a pending status, your questionnaire will be processed after I review it. Online from your Idaho jury account, which is the jury.idaho.gov, you will be available to view your status on the Service Information tab. If you do not have access to the internet, you can dial into our IVR system, and the number for that is 844-509-1211. Jurors will receive automated message from the system at the 12, 3, and 1 day mark of your start date. I will also be sending out emails to all confirmed jurors at the beginning of each month to advise of the start dates and when to check it. And then you'll also receive a second email the day before if the jury trial starts and you are paneled for that jury trial. Jurors are also reminded to check their spam email just in case those emails go into their spam folder. So on this page, this is the juror's profile page of the Idaho Jury website. You get the instructions tab, the personal information, and the service information tab. So if you click on any of those buttons, they'll display different information. So on this slide, this is the e-response login screen. The juror will need to enter in their candidate ID number without the zeros, their date of birth. It's just the drop downs on the date of birth, and then check the acknowledgement box at the bottom of the screen. On this slide here, you'll enter your email address and your phone number. If you would like to receive text messaging, please go ahead and check that box. I believe that most carriers are no longer charging data rates for receiving text messages, but we still have this box on our screen statewide. So this is a partial screenshot of the juror questionnaire. The answers are either yes, no, or fill in the blank questions. The questions with the red asterisks on them are required questions and they need to all be answered. The questions without, you can either leave, without the red asterisks, you can either leave blank or unchecked. The question, or most of the questions are pretty self-explanatory. At the bottom of the questionnaire, there's a note for the juror to read and acknowledge. It's a yes/no question, but if just after you read it, just answer it yes. Sometimes this system may not process or submit the questionnaire completely. This is due to the system timing out. The trick to this, filling out this questionnaire, fill it out as quick as you can. Don't get up and walk away from it for 5 minutes because it'll time out on you, and then you'll have to recomplete the questionnaire all over again. It's important that after you click the submit button, you go to the service information tab and verify your status. You'll either get that confirmed or pending status. If you get that, that means the questionnaire is submitted completely. If you do not get to that, that means the questionnaire did not submit completely, and you'll have to resubmit it again. So this is the service information page, and notice in the red letters you have the confirmed status. This means that your questionnaire did submit completely. The pool ID number right above that. If you go to the Bonner County Jury Service website, I'll display this on a upcoming slide. But the pool ID number, the first 4 digits, that corresponds to Bonner County. The next 2 digits are the calendar year, which is 25. The 05 is the month, and the 02 is the second pool for the month of May. If you go down to the reporting date line, it's that heavy black line. It'll have check back to see the summons. If you are paneled for a jury trial, the red letters will change to paneled, and the reporting date will have a date and time on when to report. So the summons date down lower, that just is the start date that's listed on the bottom of your stub. So the reporting instructions, it's really important that you read that so that way you know the difference between confirmed and paneled. So if you're confirmed, that means you're basically on standby and you don't need to report. If it says paneled on there, then you do need to report at that designated date and time. Down there towards the bottom of the screen, it has directions to the courthouse. It's just a Google map. It'll direct you from your home all the way to the courthouse. So if you are unfamiliar with where the courthouse is, it'll give you step-by-step instructions on how to get to the courthouse. So I just want to advise that most of our jury trials go from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So if you have any scheduling conflicts during those dates of the jury trial, please make any schedule arrangements in advance. It's very rare that we do go past 5 o'clock, but sometimes it does occur. If we go too late into the evening, we usually ask the jurors if they want to continue to stay, if they're close to making a decision, or we'll come back the following day and pick up where we left off. This is the page of the Bonner County Jury Trial Calendar. It'll have the date of the start date of the jury trial. It has the pool ID number for that group of jurors. When the check back is the next column over, and then on the right-hand side, you'll see any instructions for that group of jurors. This is a good tool for jurors to utilize in case information isn't listed on their Idaho jury account. So right here, this is the home page of the Idaho jury webpage. Notice the different tabs on here. You have the profile or status. This was explained on a previous slide. The questionnaire, this is where you will access your questionnaire, whether to enter or you can actually edit it. Some jurors do make mistakes on their questionnaire, like the medical question. They'll answer it inadvertently or don't think they answered it, no. But if you don't have any medical issues, or you do, you can make changes to the questionnaire on there if you need to. Defer your service. This is where a juror can postpone their service to a later date. They can click on this tab and a calendar will display. I'll explain this in deferments here in a future slide. Excuse service and disqualify service. If any issues arise after your questionnaire is submitted, you can request it here. And let's see, directions, courthouse, print letters. The print letters tab, this is where your summons, if you lost your stub, you can actually go and hit the print letters tab. There's also, after all jurors are checked in, if you need an attendance letter, after you've been scanned in for jury service, you can print this, go to this tab and print the letter. You can give this letter to your employer, significant other, or spouse. This will prove that you were at jury service, and in case they need verification that you were there. So this is a map to the courthouse from a person's residence. So as I mentioned a few minutes ago, the attendance letter, if you want to reprint your summons. So on here, these are some of the exemptions jurors can be excused for. Permanent exemption, over 70 years and no longer wishing to serve, non-resident of Bonner County. If you have a permanent medical exemption that was already approved for on our previous system. Temporary exemptions are temporary medical exemption or caregiver, undue hardship, military, missionary, nursing mothers, college students, language barriers, or citizenship. You basically get a 1 or 2 year exemption, depending on the circumstances. Some medical exemptions may be a little bit longer, depending on the reason for it. If you have a reason why you're unable to serve during your dates of service for undue hardship or work or travel, you can submit a deferral request from your account. Jurors are allowed one deferment and may select an alternate date to serve. If you choose to defer, please note that your pool order number will be up higher on the group next time that you're summoned. I understand that everyone has set schedules and may have multiple reasons why jury service is difficult for them, but I do my best to try to work around your schedule as much as possible. If you're a felon but no longer on probation or parole, you are actually eligible to serve on jury service. I may ask for additional documentation if it's from another state. Otherwise, if you will be confirmed as a juror, and any issues can be explained with the judge as needed. So the Idaho jury system, our codes in an EJM, you have the summoned. That means the jurors were already selected and the summons were already issued. Confirmed, you're basically you're a qualified juror but on standby. Panel, that means you've been selected for a particular jury trial and you need to report. The confirmed service complete, this means that your jury service is completed and you're no longer required to check in. Pending, that means you have a temporary excuse that is awaiting approval. Excused and disqualified. Excused is basically a temporary exemption and disqualified is a permanent exemption. Unless you're like a felon, waiting citizenship, or a language barrier, you're basically just temporarily disqualified, but you may get picked again in the next 2 years.
Can I ask you to clarify, because earlier you said
Sure.
felons can serve, but then felons can be temporarily disqualified?
They can.
So is it the type of felony that is the disqualification?
Once their probation or parole period is ended, then they are confirmed to serve
Oh, it's
again
the
on a
confirmation
jury.
of service.
Yes. And then if for some reason, the judges and the attorneys have the ultimate decision on whether or not they want to have that juror on that jury trial or not. So it's not my call,
Yeah.
but I leave it up to
That's a
them.
new one, because you don't vote,
Yeah.
but you can serve on a jury.
They may not get their gun rights back or whatever. I have no control over that.
That
A lot
is
of
a
folks
fun
call
fact.
me and they say, oh, I'm confirmed that I can be qualified to serve on a jury, but I can't have my guns. Well, it's not my decision for that. It's up to the county and up
Well,
to the
that's
state.
I didn't know that,
Yep.
that's a fun fact.
So if they are on probation or parole, then
Yeah.
they get excused.
Right.
So juror pay rates here in Bonner County, jurors are paid $5 for a half day, $10 per full day. Starting on day 6, juror pay actually increases up to $50 per day after that until the jury trial is complete. And jurors are paid 70 cents round trip per mile from the residence to the courthouse. I just want to advise that I am a one-person show. So juror pay could take anywhere from a week to 30 days for me to get inputted, get the checks processed here at the admin building, and then get the checks mailed back. Okay. So completion of your jury service. So after your jury service is completed, notice here in the red letters that it says panel service complete. You're no longer required to check in, and you're good to go for the next 2 years. So again, as I mentioned earlier, there are duplicate files in our system. You could end up getting a second summons in the mail, but it might be under a different ID number. If that does happen, please go ahead and give me both ID numbers, and I'll get them closed out of the system. And that is all I have.
All right, I know I've got questions, and we'll just let the people that are online, you guys can just unmute and ask a question, because there's not too many that will get congested. But in terms of how frequently you pull, because we've had some chatter online about jury service, so how frequently can a single person be pulled? Is it what is the frequency of the pull?
So jury service here in Bonner County is every 2 years. I generally pull about 3 or 4 times each month.
Okay.
So I usually try to pull at the 60-day mark. I try not to pull any later than that because the summons get delayed in the mail. So it does take about 5 to 7 days for those summons to get mailed out. So that's why I pull a little bit earlier. The schedule changes a lot. Jury trials could end up canceling right after I pull the summons. And I try not to let jurors go or lose jurors that are qualified to serve on a jury trial. I try to get other jury trials to fill in that.
What does
during that
pull?
time
Can you
frame.
explain the polling process?
So I go through into the system and I select, let's say I want 150 jurors for a particular judge. The system, when I go in to select the 150 jurors, it might select 200 random jurors out of a group, and only 150 of those will be selected to serve on that pool or get summoned for that pool.
So it's random. You're
It's
not going
random.
in and
I have no
selecting them.
control over
Yeah.
anything. I can't manually add anybody on to a pool. So everything's all randomly selected, and just because I pick 150 names, it's not going to be just those 150. It's going to select 200 jurors, and then 150 will get picked out of that group.
Okay. Resident of the state of Idaho, but not a citizen.
Okay, so we do have what we call snowbirds. So they're generally
Okay.
here during the summertime. They live like down in Arizona during the wintertime. I do get a lot of jurors that they'll get summoned up here in December, and they're still in Arizona, and they don't realize that they get a summons until they get back up here in May. So if that does happen, I generally just tell the juror, hey, fill out the questionnaire. I'm going to defer your service around the time frame that you are here. So if you do have an Idaho driver's license here in this county, part of their civic duty is serving on jury service here.
What about the citizenship issue? So you can reside here and not be a citizen of the country? Is that what you mean when you say
Correct.
the exclusion? So
Correct.
you get one bump out of the system for that reason?
Well, correct. We generally postpone those jurors for 2 years in case their citizenship changes, and they do become a citizen here after the 2 years. If they don't, if it's 2 years down the road and they're still not a citizen and they get summoned again, I'll bump it another 2 years.
So they just continue to get bumped, they don't get a
Right.
permanent,
They're going to keep moving up. Their pool order number will keep moving up higher on the list next time, but eventually, if their citizenship, they do become a citizen here, then
And they can
they'll
vote.
serve, they can serve.
Yeah. That, I was wondering how that would work. What does it mean? So you listed some examples of where you can be permanently removed from serving. And so one of those had medical listed. What's a permanent medical condition that you see getting used by a person called that people might think would exclude them, but it doesn't? So that people have an understanding of what qualifies as a medical exclusion from jury service.
So I have no control over that. Permanent, if I go off the doctor's
So
diagnosis.
it's just a doctor who says it?
Correct.
Okay, so there's no
So-
interpretation on the part of the county. It's just if a doctor says this person should be excluded for a medical reason, we just accept that?
Correct.
Okay.
So, and if you're the caregiver of somebody that's permanently medical excused, sometimes the doctor will say that that caregiver needs to be excused permanently. If they're like in their mid-30s, I may just excuse them for 5 years or 10 years, depending on what the circumstances are with the person they're caregiving for. They may end up wanting to serve later. And this even goes for jurors that are over 70. They may have previously excused or wanted to be permanently exempted from jury service, and they change their mind 5 or 10 years down the road and say, hey, I want to serve now. I have the ability to be able to turn their file back on if they would like to serve. So
That was going to be my other question on
is an option.
caregiver. When you say caregiver, you're not meaning caregiver as a job.
correct,
You're meaning caregiver as
that family member
a
or
family member.
relative.
Okay.
Right.
That's a distinction
It
too.
is, and a lot of folks, they'll say, oh, I'm a caregiver. Well, is the caregiver is your profession, or is the caregiver you're caring for somebody in your home?
Okay. So, and when you look at, have we had an increase of, I know it doesn't, for our population, when you said we have 60 to 80,000, that was duplicate names in the system?
No, that's total jurors here in Bonner County. So, and basically for about the last 9 months when I've been going in and investigating the database in the system, I notice.
That's higher than our population.
Correct.
So,
So I've cleared out about 1,000 names so far out of the system. I've coded those files out to where that file can no longer be summoned. So it takes me about 5 to 10 minutes to investigate each duplicate juror that I find, or if they're deceased or they're excused in our old system. So currently right now, my office, I operate about 6 screens inside that office. So I'm running 2 jury systems still. I'm running 2 email accounts, 2 phones. And I try to when I do have downtime, I try to go through the system to try to clear out those files that don't need to be in the system. So like the duplicate files.
is there some reconciliation that it can occur with the voter rolls?
It can. So every September, our database is actually updated by the state of Idaho. So they'll go through. Our system will actually be shut down. In fact, it'll be shut down September 8th until about the 19th this September. And they'll be going through and updating the database. So any new residents that moved here or they moved out, it will update in our database. So just because, I know, I'll go ahead and I'll mention this. So a few weeks ago, I'm not a member on Facebook, so don't go hunting for me. There was a lot of chatter on Facebook's Sandpoint Local Forum about jurors confused about why is my spouse not getting picked, but I've been picked 5 times in the last 10 years. I have no control over it. A lot of it was our changeover from our old system to the new system. Unfortunately, I was unable to transfer any of that data from the old system to the new one. So that could have been a reason for the last 2 years or year and a half. A lot of jurors were resummoned, and I had no control over stopping those summons from getting mailed out. So I excused you when I did verify that you did serve within the last 2 years. Hopefully you don't get resummoned again, but if it does happen, I'll work with you to take care of it.
And I want to make sure I pause for people to ask questions, because I can just keep asking you questions for the next 15 minutes. But if someone wants to ask a question, just pop in. That's a good point to bring up, because that's part of why we were doing the chat too, is to put information to the community. And a takeaway is that if that happened, that the opportunity of having a conversation about what took place exists. And so we can just contact you and say, hey, I already served. And then we can help with the reconciliation of a prior service that didn't filter into the new system. So that's good to know. So when we're looking at service, and sometimes we might pull a trial that we don't feel capable of, even if someone selected us in. So maybe it's a particular topic that we don't feel that we're capable of actually sitting through. Does a juror have any options of coming to you, for example, and having that discussion on that conversation if they get pulled on something?
They can, otherwise they can explain their situation with the judge. They can either do it there at the jury trial, or with the other jurors, or they can explain it to the judge and the attorneys privately in one of our other courtrooms.
And so how does a person go about knowing that that's an option? Because I know that we have different types of cases, but for some people, some cases, they just feel they wouldn't be a good juror on, or they have their own trauma that doesn't have them capable of sitting through that. How do they know what their recourse is when they're wanting to do jury service, but the trial that they were randomly selected for doesn't fit for them?
Usually our jurors don't know about the type of jury trial they have until they
show up, right?
So, like, if we do have a lot of retired law enforcement officers here, a lot of them feel that they're not going to be selected as a juror just because of their previous profession and whatnot. Mm-hmm. However, they may be better suited to do a civil trial instead. Mm-hmm. And that goes for any other jurors that get excused for previous trials. We could always try to put them on a civil trial in the future if it doesn't work out.
Okay.
For them.
So that just open lines of communication helps with jury service once you get selected or paneled. Let's go to Diane.
Hello, Diane.
Hi, sorry, Diane Willie, Bonner County resident. To what you were speaking to a moment ago, I served on a jury many years ago. And during voir dire, the judge asked me, when I wrote all the things that they needed to know, that I have a very, very long blue line legacy. I know a Superior Court judge personally and am friends. All these different things I just threw out, and his questions were, one, funny, but two, he he dealt with that, and they told us not even then what the trial was about, but his questions to me as a law enforcement family member going way, way back, could you fairly judge a trial that someone was arrested at? And I'm like, yeah, I know good cops, I know bad cops, and I know cops that did heinous things. I also know wonderful cops. So I spanked one when he was little, and I was actually picked for the jury. And it surprised me, both attorneys knowing all that information, and that defendant got a very fair shake. So that I very much enjoyed jury service. I always thought if I was on trial, I'd want a juror there that wanted to be there or was willing to be there, not someone who tried all they could not to be there. And so that got my full attention when I was selected for the jury. Like, this is what I'd want, is somebody who's willing to hear the facts. And that was, it was an interesting and really wonderful experience. So that's all.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. I mean, I get a lot of jurors all the time. A lot of them, they've never done jury service before. A lot of them feel really intimidated about doing it. Just, I can just advise, don't come in there all scared and nervous and everything, because we're not out to make your life miserable just for jury service, but we're a really relaxed group in there. We try to make you feel welcome. We do have good snacks. We do have, we try to take care of our jurors the best that we possibly can. I mean, if you go to other counties, I mean, I know there's a lot of counties in this state, they don't even provide a bottle of water. So they've called me to ask me, hey, how do you take care of your jurors?
And that's
Feed
a
them and make
perfect,
them feel comfortable.
that's a perfect segue to the kind of the closing thing I'd like you to do, is to go into a little bit of detail on how you take care of the jurors when they're dealing with those stressful trials, because you go through extra efforts to help people, because there's a recognition that sometimes the trial needs a juror, but that trials also impact the jurors that are sitting and hearing and seeing things that they may otherwise have never seen and never want to see at all. So what are the steps that you go through?
Depending on the type of trial we have, I mean, we do have counseling available in our building next door.
At Lilybrook?
At Lilybrook, to assist jurors just in case they're having any emotional trauma after the jury trial. We try to take care of those matters before the jury trial starts, so that way, I mean, my biggest priority is making sure the jurors are taken care of. So when I first took on this job a few years ago, one of the biggest complaints on there was sitting on those wooden benches. So the Bonner County Jury Assistance Fund was established a long time ago by my two previous predecessors. They kept it up and going. One of the things we did was, hey, we had the money there. It's like, hey, let's get some seat cushions on these benches. So Fine Arts Upholstery here in town, they built the seating cushions for us. So we got 2 courtrooms done. We're getting ready to get our third and final one done in the next 2 weeks. So we try to improve the comfort level. Having the snacks. If we have a jury trial that's going to run late in the evening, or you're deliberating during lunchtime, we get food next door. So we try to make it as comfortable as possible. One topic I definitely want to bring up before we do depart is jury scams. Last week I had a young lady who called, and she was getting scammed they were trying to collect $3,000 from her. And she actually had the person that was trying to scam her on the other line while she was talking to me, and she just completely broke down. And the best advice I can advise, don't give out any money. Don't give out your personal information. I'm a one-person show, so if you don't recognize me, or you don't recognize my voice and it's somebody else's voice on that phone, hang it up and definitely block that number.
And report it to the prosecutor's office.
Well, actually report it to the sheriff's office, the non-emergency line. Don't call 911 for it, but call the non-emergency line and report it. So I have no investigation authority at all. There's not a whole lot I can do about it. The only thing I can do is offer advice of what not to do when those instances happen. So just be cognizant of your information and your money, and make sure that you don't give any of that stuff out.
Okay. All right, well, any further, look, a judge just walked in. Hey, so any last questions before we end our jury commissioner chat? All right, with that, I want to thank you for coming and doing the presentation. One of the purposes of this was also to upload it on our site so that people can have a resource that they can reference, and he can archive this information for the community, so that I think our biggest takeaways are contact if you have a question, that there is a recognition that there's some duplication because of a changed system, but that when that's brought to your attention, that you're addressing it in real time and hearing the concerns of the community. I think for me it was a big, because I also got pulled into jury.
Right.
So I got my notice, and then I contacted you, say, what am I supposed to do? And I had to write down what to do because I already threw that stub away. So I know
And
where to go.
there is a possibility we may be changing systems again, so
Yeah,
the Supreme Court has actually tasked me with trying to find the next jury system for this state. So
yeah.
I'm currently out searching, trying to find a better system. Look, the system we've only had it for 2 years. It was kind of misadvertised on how it was sold to us, but to me, it's a better system than what we used to have. So to go from a 1-month service to what we have now, it's pretty really good.
We're moving in the right direction. So with that, we will end our commissioner chat and allow technology to transition over to our morning meeting.